Hey guys, welcome back to Christmas Coloring 2019. This is the final part of our Christmas scene here, part 5. So if you missed the previous 4 videos, you might want to go back and watch those first so that you can catch up. Because today, we're coloring the background. So stick around. Hello everyone! This video is going up on Christmas Eve, and if you're watching it around the holidays and if you celebrate, I wish you all a very joyous time with your friends and family. Now, jumping back from where we left off, all we have left to color today is the background. And you'll notice that there's no visual cues that the artist kind of left for us about what the background should be. It's kind of a blank white page, which gives us the freedom to pretty much do whatever we'd like. And what I'd like to do today is break out my soft pastels. Now, I really like these little babies. I've got tons of color range to choose from. They're very simple and user-friendly, variety of different applications. Plus, they cover a large space very easily, which is my personal favorite feature. Because if you were to use your colored pencils on this white background, it would take you forever and a day. So soft pastels it is. Now, to keep it light and fun, I'm going to use a number of colors in this sort of green range here. But I do think that it would be a good idea to test some of these colors out first, because sometimes they show up just a little bit differently on paper than they look in their kind of stick form. So always good to test them out first. And I'm not really looking for a color that I'm going to use to cover the entire area with. I'm not looking for a singular color. So you'll notice that I'm testing kind of multiple colors that kind of span the green spectrum. And that's because I'm looking to use multiple colors on the background to make it up as a whole. So when looking at my colors here, I'm not only evaluating them on their own, I'm also seeing which ones might look good paired together. And if I was feeling, a little bit unsure, you can even use your test page to kind of layer a few colors together. You can kind of put them up against one another to see how they blend. So again, really, really good to just kind of grab a piece of paper and test out some of the things before you commit. So I have all my options kind of laid out here now, and you'll see how messy they are on my fingers, having only just tested them out for a short time. So just kind of keep that in mind while you're using these. The soft pastel itself kind of transfers really easily, so I try to only touch them with my left hand. And then my left hand is off limits. It's not allowed to touch anything else while I'm coloring, especially my coloring page. And looking at my samples, I'm actually drawn to this range right here. Some great sort of kind of light like sap greens. These are just kind of speaking to me. And I think that they'll complement the rest of the colors on our page very nicely. And you know what? I'm going to get smart. I'm going to grab this roll of paper towels that I kind of purposely keep here on my desk for this very reason. I'm going to tear some strips off of this paper towel to kind of act as a bit of a holder for my soft pastels, just to keep my fingers clean. And it certainly won't keep them clean, but it'll certainly help. And you can apply the soft pastel in a number of different ways. And I'll leave a card in the corner here and a link in the description to some other videos that I've used soft pastels on in different ways. But today, I'm going to be applying it to my page with a Q-tip. And the reason for that is I have a lot of my kind of colored pencil areas that have really intricate little sections to kind of work around. And the Q-tip is going to give me control to get into those little tight areas. Now, all I do is rub my dry Q-tip onto the soft pastel stick itself, which is transferring some of that powder onto the cotton. And then I rub it into the paper in kind of small, like circular motions. And if your coloring book paper is nice quality, like it is here in the Romantic Country books, then it'll have a nice deep tooth for this pigment to kind of get into. Now, if your book has kind of not so good paper quality, it'll have kind of a shallow tooth or a bit of a slick surface, and the pigment won't really have anywhere to go. It'll just sort of slide around on top of the paper and not really give you the kind of look that you're going for. That's actually a really good reason why I'm a fan of really good quality coloring books. I don't mind spending money on coloring books because the paper quality for me is probably one of the top things on my list in terms of importance. It's actually right below coloring kind of subject matter. You know, if your paper quality is fantastic, but your subject matter isn't interesting or fun to color, still a hard pass for me. But the paper quality itself is really important. I'd rather use cheap colored pencils, but really good paper quality. For me, you know, I think that is just kind of a much more important aspect. I can do a lot more with cheap colored pencils than I can with crappy paper. Now, using small circular motions also kind of helps to disguise any marks or like strokes that you might see from my application. Because like if you use like back and forth kind of strokes with your Q-tip or kind of random all over the place strokes, you would see that kind of transfer to the paper and it would be a little bit distracting. And circular motions just kind of helps to disguise some of those strokes. And I'm just going to apply this in a small kind of halo or a circle around the top half of our tree. And this is going to be the lightest color, so I kind of want to use that to focus the eye on what to me is kind of the focal point, which is kind of that top section of the tree up near the star. All right, that looks good. We can put that color down now and switch to a different green. And you'll notice this one is a very similar tone to the previous. It's just a little bit deeper of a color. And we're going to work our way around the previous color with this one. And to blend the areas where these two meet, it's pretty much the same approach as you utilize with your colored pencils. You're going to kind of Venn diagram, kind of overlap them a little bit. You're going to use lighter and lighter pressure kind of as you go into that other color until the two just sort of seamlessly join. Now, it's a bit difficult to get a completely flat, smooth color layer with these soft pastels. And it's actually one of the reasons that I like them. Something about that kind of dappled application makes it look a bit more natural to me. It kind of adds that color variation too that I'm trying to achieve anyway. So if it doesn't matter to you, don't worry about getting it super smooth. I think we're good on kind of our mid-tone sap greens. Let's grab a bit of a darker green now. Concentrating this on the bottom area under the tree here, where the background itself might not get as much light. Another color switch. This one is going to be just a touch darker than the first two. And we'll use this to fill in the rest of our white space on our background that we haven't touched yet. All right, that was just kind of our base layer. Now we're going to start to layer in some additional greens in just kind of certain areas. Starting with that darker green that we used at the bottom, we're going to add that just a little bit up here at the top in our corner areas. And I see a couple areas that perhaps just are a little bit too sparse. So I'm just going to go back in, add a little bit more pigment, and smooth out the edges. All right, looking good. But you don't think that we're done, do you? Of course not. We can absolutely jazz this thing up. And we'll do that with this. This is a Derwent electric eraser, and it's a really neat little tool to have around. It has a little eraser column inside of a sleeve that goes into the tip here up at the top, and a switch on the side that battery operated. It vibrates the eraser at a really high speed, which makes it a fantastic eraser of colored pencil, which is notoriously hard to erase. This thing works really, really well. And this thing kind of helps me with some fun embellishments where I kind of take away color, like we're going to be doing now, as well as it also helps with those little oops moments that happen while I'm coloring. Oh, shh, don't tell anyone that I have oops moments. And just because the soft pastel on our page is still movable, it isn't set, I'm going to use the rest of that paper towel scrap just to kind of rest my hand on so that I don't smear any of that soft pastel around on my page. And we're going to take our electric eraser and we're just going to make little dots or little circles on our page in various sizes. And this is going to just kind of simulate a little bit of snow, a little bit of Christmas elegance. And you see how this eraser pulls the pigment like right off the page? It works especially good on the soft pastels. And this is definitely, again, it's one of my favorite tools in my toolbox. And depending on your skill, you can erase in designs. You can do like a scroll work, which would have been really kind of super cute on this page. You can erase stripes, whatever you feel like. This has a lot more precision than you'd imagine that it would. Really, really nifty tool. Now, remember when I said that the soft pastel isn't set yet? Well, it'll never set unless you set it with something like this spray fixative. It creates a clear coat on top, which locks the pigment into place, keeps the soft pastel from getting everywhere, especially onto the other pages in your coloring book. You want to kind of protect your book from some powder transfer. And you can get this spray fixative from your local art store. I think you can even get it on Amazon. It's just a couple bucks. And if you're going to use soft pastels, this is definitely a great companion piece that you'll want to use along with it. And I prefer to spray outside normally because the overspray, it can get, on your desk or, wherever else you might be spraying. And because it smells pretty strongly like acetone. But because it's about 20 degrees or so here in Chicago at the moment, we're going to stay right here inside where it's warm, and we're going to spray it here at my desk. And you can just tuck some scrap paper or paper towel behind your page just to catch some of that overspray. And you don't need much, just a kind of pass or two, across the surface, and you are good to go. Just let it sit on your desk kind of open for at least, 30 seconds to a minute before you close your book, just to make sure that you're all good. And there you go, all protected. And here she is, our completed Christmas page for 2019. Thank you everyone who followed me along on this 5-part journey. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. It actually tells YouTube to promote my videos in the search algorithm, which helps new audiences find my channel. And if you're new, please consider subscribing. Now, if you do color this page or any other holiday page and you want to post it to Instagram, please tag me. Please tag @PencilStash. I would love to see your work. Happy holidays, everyone, and happy coloring. Bye.